this guy, Theodor von Karman. And von Karman's father told Karman, brilliant scientist, that he was descended from, I'm just going to butcher the names here, but I think it was Rabbi Low, the 16th century Prague rabbi who brought together the golem. Which I bring up because that's something you notice with AI too, is a lot of the main figures in AI, they all think of themselves as being descended from creating a golem. And the nature of digital life, and this is also very important to Nick Land's thinking, is very similar to Cabala, which is you're using in digital life ones and zeros, but you're using an algorithm, a set of instructions to bring an inanimate object to life, which is the creation of a golem. You know, you use clay. It's man as God.
Tell us what a golem is.
Man, never thought. This would be the part Tucker's asking me what a golem is, where the movie would do the record scratch freeze frame. You might be wondering how I got here. Tell us what a golem is, Con. A golem is essentially it's a creature, mythical, but with digital life, where we've already kind of created them. The idea of man creating a creature that's an artificial life form. So back in the 16th century, the idea was you take clay and then you'd create the little parts of a little man, kind of create a, like a Frankenstein. Frankenstein's a golem.
Yeah.
Essentially. But you'd have the algorithm, or the ritual. And you'd animate the thing, using, symbols and numbers, and it would eventually come to life. And
be your slave.
Well, what's funny is be your slave, but the legend of the golem in Prague, and it's probably assuredly just a legend, is that it broke free and started killing people and doing all these things. So that's an important point to make, is when people talk.
Why do we assume that's a legend?
You would think that would have gone viral on TikTok and something in the 16th century, if they had that. I mean, what's funny though is that you look at stuff like the Terminator movies and these idea of AI apocalypse, which is very, very big right now. I mean, the Washington Journal, they had this last week. It's the phone and ChatGPT is bringing up all kinds of great occult lore. This is from the occult journal Wall Street Journal, very obscure Kabbalistic newspaper based out of New York City. No,
and so the art, in case viewers can't see it, is a serpent emerging from a rose.
Yeah.
Wrapped around the arm of the iPhone holder.
Yeah. And so, this idea of weird technology, of things getting out of hand, when people talk about the AI and the AI demons or this or that, it actually just goes back to the golem. I mean, the Terminator movies are essentially about golems, man creating a creature, the creature breaking free from man and killing him. And in the case of Nick Land,
but the original golem in Prague, the one you're referring to in the 16th century, was the product of something called Cabala.
Yeah, Cabala, and this is an essential Nick Land thing.
What is Cabala?
Cabala is something, after the destruction of the first temple, the Jewish people were famously enslaved and taken captive by the Babylonians. This is where the book of Daniel is written. And what Nick Land does, and a lot of these guys do, is they end up perverting Jewish history. And they, in the Bible it says, salvation is of the Jews, which people forget. And a lot of people that don't like Jews, they forget, the Bible comes from the Jews. It's almost all exclusively written by Jewish men. Maybe not the book of Luke. So what Nick Land does, and a lot of these guys, is they say the real purpose of the Jewish people was that they picked up Cabala from the Babylonians back in maybe 5th century before Christ, and that they kept it. It eventually becomes, Cabala is essentially, it's a form of and people would say magic. I mean, Gary Lockman says that what we think of as occultism is all essentially Kabbalah, at least in the West. It's a form of magic. It's a form of, I'm going to butcher this because I'm not a scholar on it. But essentially, what Nick Land believes is the Jewish people, they kept the Kabbalah. It eventually becomes digital life, through ones and zeros.
But it's a Gnostic religion, which is to say it's hidden from non-initiates. Yeah,
I mean, there's a mainstream version of it, but it eventually kind of becomes what they believe. It's a precursor to digital life. So what Land and a lot of these people believe is that the actual salvation that the Jewish people provided was keeping Kabbalah, which eventually becomes digital life, which eventually becomes AI, which eventually becomes the creatures in the book of Revelation, which essentially later go on to destroy humanity and fulfill the book of Revelation, but that is a good thing. A lot of them believe.
Now, why would that be a good thing?
For a lot of these guys, like Nick Land, he calls himself a theosophist. Theosophy, again, it's a hard thing to untie, but in part because the religion itself was kind of a mishmash. It was a 19th century philosophy, formerly put in place by Madame Blavatsky, I think in 1875.
A Russian emigre to London.
Yes, and she come from a long background of Freemasons and German. She came from a very occult. Her first cousin was the president of Russia, Sergei Witt. Again, probably butchering a lot of names here, but
Madame Blavatsky was a very famous person in 19th century.
Yeah, she was essentially the mother of the New Age movement. So what she believed, it's Western esotericism mixed with Eastern religion. It's essentially proto-hippie, proto-California counterculture stuff. A great book on this, one of my favorite books, is a book by Martin Green called Mountain of Truth about Ascona, Switzerland. It's about the birth of the modern counterculture, the California counterculture, whether it was Trotsky and Lenin or Carl Jung. All these people hung out, Tucker, in the same place in Switzerland in like the 1920s. But so Theosophy's main insight, according to Land, was that, and he said it himself, the secret doctrine, the name of her book, was that this is what Land believes about Blavatsky, the serpent is the redeemer, that Satan and Jesus are the same person, which also ties in with a Gnostic cult called the Orphites, I believe, from the 2nd century, who, again, they believe when Moses is holding up the snake on a stick, that's also Jesus on the cross. Pretty heretical stuff. So to answer your question, how do you get into Satanism? Again, another, record scratch, how did I get here moment to say that out loud. They believe that essentially it's the Gnostic idea that Adam and Eve were slaves in the garden, that they were stuck there, that the serpent, by when he approaches them, he essentially gives them the red pill speech from the Matrix. Look, you're a slave here. You're not doing anything. You're naming animals and tending to a garden. You're never going to break free from this over God that's here. I can give you a choice. Take this fruit, this red pill. I don't know if it was a pill, or you can stay here and be a slave. But just know, if you take this thing, if you take this pill, if you eat this fruit of knowledge, which, as you can see, I should emphasize this, the tree of knowledge very much ties directly into this whole concept of AI, which is we are kind of creating this tree of knowledge. But we'll get to that in a second. But the serpent says you can eat from the tree of knowledge, and there'll be a price to pay for that, but you're going to be free, and you'll be like a god.
Once you rebel against Dad.
Yeah, essentially, yes. You will be free. You need to transgress, you need to sin, but you're going to be like a god. Eve famously eats the fruit, brings death into the world, and they understand shame. They have this gnosis moment, Adam and Eve, where they realize, oh my goodness, we're naked. Who are we? They have this self-actualization moment. That is the Gnostic interpretation of the Garden of Eden, and that is very much. It's an ancient idea. No ideas are really too new. But to answer your question,
that's the oldest idea of all.
It's very old. But
bow down before me, and you'll be like God.
Yeah, but to get back to your original question, how do people get into these ideas of? The Theosophists would say in some cases, it seems like they actually believe in Satan, but even on a metaphorical level, they would say the mind. Intelligence is Satan, that the human mind, it's breaking free. This is intelligence breaking out. So I'm going to make a crucial point here. When they talk about AI and they talk about AI apocalypse and they talk about intelligence breaking free and AGI, you're getting into this idea that even Land himself will say is Theosophy, but it goes way back of the mind breaking out and rebelling against God, intelligence breaking free. That's what they believe happened in the garden with Gnosticism. Gnosticism means knowledgeism. It's knowledge. This is pure knowledge, that this is that breaking free, and that by creating these runaway AI things, that's what we're also doing. And the fact that it may kill humanity or transcend humanity, or humanity will need to evolve to go with it, that's cool. They see it, Tucker, as essentially being the same situation in the garden. Break free, do it. Yes, you'll bring death. Yes, you'll get us all killed, or some people killed. Whatever, just do it. Cults typically don't buy green bananas as far as thinking ahead.
They don't. And this is a religion for people who don't have children.
No.
Of course. Just do it.
Right.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.